Estadio Latinoamericano in Havana, Cuba, originally opened in 1946 as Gran Estadio de la Habana. It has a robust capacity of 55,000 and in many ways mirrors a major league stadium. In quite a few others, it does not. Its main tenant is the Yankees of Cuban baseball, Industriales Los Azules Leones, the Blues or Blue Lions. Industriales comes from the genesis of Cuban leagues when teams were formed largely of groups of trades workers, such as sugar harvesters or in this case, industrial factory workers. The pre-revolution home of professional baseball and spring training site, Estadio Latinoamericano has seen 12 Cuban National Series titles and hosted myriad events, including 2016 special match between the Cuban national team and the Tampa Bay Rays. Join us as we take a stadium journey to the island of Cuba and Havana's Estadio Latinoamericano. Stadium Journey ranks 7 key elements of the sporting experience. This combines to give you a fanfare score. The higher, the better. First, a disclaimer, or at least an explainer. I'm not going to wade into the waters of the political debate. I understand why many tourists love Cuba, but why many others vow never step foot on the island. Cuba is still a third world country, but does provide a unique tourist experience. Attempting to compare the stadium experience to a Big Four continental sport isn't totally fair. However, Cuba has a fantastic old-world baseball culture, unlike most stadium experiences. Cuba was great, except for the food. A common refrain is food consistency is a definite issue, despite some of the freshest and best seafood available anywhere. The ballpark offering is geared much more towards locals and not tourists. However, fresh shaved pork sandwiches are the favorite, along with paper cones full of peanuts and fresh popcorn. Cuba has 2 currencies, the local peso and the convertible used by tourists, the CUC, which is worth roughly 25 times the peso and is arbitrarily pegged to the US dollar. Most prices at the ballpark are in pesos, and often vendors don't carry much change in CUC. My Spanish isn't strong, but during my last visit I paid 1 CUC, 1 CUC, and got 5 sandwiches, and was later informed I either overpaid or gave a fantastic tip. Alcohol was banned many years ago due to heightened passion of Cuban fans, but they don't have metal detectors and they don't pat you down on the way in. Discretion is advised. Otherwise, Ciego Montero soft drinks. This 7th inning siesta brought to you by Two Cola, orange and lime are available. These they do charge 1 CUC for, perhaps due to its popularity with tourists. The selection isn't fantastic, but the prices are. In worst case, you can pack your own lunch and bring it with you. Similar to continental North America, crowd size definitely has an impact on the atmosphere at sporting events. The difference being, in Cuba, crowds definitely overachieve on noise. Full percussion session often leads the tempo and cadence for the crowd. This can straddle the line between melodic and monotonous. However, the band this trip seemed to coordinate actual songs as opposed to a live jam session. Small air horns, similar to the famous vuvuzela, are dispersed. You may want to move around to find a section without these. Some fan bases travel well, as I've seen entire sections of out-of-towners invade and take over the atmosphere, in good fun. The residential neighborhood surrounding the stadium is rather quiet. Luckily, Havana itself is a vibrant and fascinating city, rich in history, culture, and sights to see, so I'll focus more on the capital city as a whole. All-inclusive resorts are on the outskirts of town, but a day trip is always recommended. Havana has plenty of hotel options, from the famous Hotel Nacional and Havana Libre in the Vedado neighborhood, to the Inglaterra, Parque Central, and the new 5-star Hotel Manzana in the Central Square. I've personally found great value in the Hotel Vedado, St. John, or La Colina near La Rampa. The famous Floridita, known as the Hemingway Bar, is worth a pop in but veers towards tourist trap. However, the Montserrat just up the road is usually less crowded. Strolling Obispo Street will always provide paladares, or private restaurant options, and plenty of live music and short sets until the hat gets passed around. An impromptu pub crawl doesn't take much pre-planning. There have been many mounting pressures on Cuban baseball over the past decade. Defections have depleted the talent pool, and the results in international competition have declined with the immense outflow of talent. Measures have been taken to cover shortfalls in budgets, and the 90-game, 16-team Cuban National Series schedule is now 45 games for all but the top 6 teams who advance to the second phase at the midpoint of the season. Add in the growing popularity of international soccer and the growing love affair with cell phones, baseball now has more competition than ever for eyeballs and participants. Baseball is still number 1 on the island, but crowd sizes ebb and flow with team performance and the economy. The passion still burns, just not as bright. However, as mentioned prior, you'd be hard-pressed to decipher this inside the stadium most games. Cubans love baseball, but like most American fan bases, they finally have a breaking point where hardcore fandom can be tested. Hopefully the proposed deal with MLB will allow top talent to develop on the island and renew the national and provincial pride in baseball for Cubanos, especially the younger generation. Estadio Latino Americano is located in the Cerro neighborhood, which is residential. The adjacent parking lot is usually empty because the average Cuban doesn't drive, and mass transit doesn't stop at the stadium. The positive, though, is if Havana has 2 million people, it seems to have 2.5 million taxis. Taxi prices are negotiable, but always negotiate before getting in, be it a yellow cab, vintage car, bike taxi, cocoa taxi, or anybody driving by offering a ride. Please note, those with disabilities may find it hard to navigate the stadium, as it is largely untouched structurally from its inception. Also, tickets are only available the day of as walk-up, and game times have been known to flex without advance warning. Also watch your step between the first and second concourse, as exposed water pipes present a tripping hazard. Consider bringing a seat cushion, as seating options are either old wrought iron chairs or concrete slabs. Let's politely call this aspect of the stadium vintage. Where else can you see top level, often future Major League talent for $3, feed your family for $1, all the while avoiding the winter? Cuba is popular with tourists because your dollar goes further. Schedule and city travel quirks make it harder to see Cuban baseball than before, but your wallet will thank you for it. If you walk into a Cuban stadium, you'll be impressed by the footprint and underwhelmed by the amenities. In many ways, you'll feel like you've taken a time machine to a different era. Cuba's next revolution is digital, but in the meantime, their stadiums, cars, and architecture are artifacts of a bygone era. Havana is a dichotomy of beauty and crumbling infrastructure, very safe and welcoming to tourists. I recommend to everyone to pull themselves away from the beach, as tough as that might be, if only for an afternoon, and take in a ball game.